So it's been about a year now, and I've had both the Capital One Venture X as well as the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, and I wanted to compare them both to let you guys know which one of these cards is going to be worth it for you because of those hefty annual fees. Most people don't have both of these cards, they'll pick and choose one of them. So without further ado, let's talk about each one of these cards and which one is going to benefit you the most, and you might learn a thing or two because one of them has a perk that is pretty much unmatched. Let's get into it. So I'm going to run down all the perks and benefits of each one of these, and you guys can start to make an educated guess as to what's going on, but stick around to the end because there's one superpower that one of these has which makes me kind of lean towards this one versus the other one. But first and foremost, a lot of these are going to sound very similar for both of these, but from an annual fee standpoint, just keep in the back of your mind that the Chase Sapphire Reserve card is $550 a year versus the Capital One Venture X is only $395. So from a premium tier credit card, I would consider the Venture X the cheapest one, while having the Chase Sapphire Reserve is kind of in that middle ground. And then finally, of course, you have the American Express Platinum at $700. And then from a sign-up bonus standpoint, on the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, you get 60,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months, versus on the Capital One Venture X, you get 75,000 miles after spending that same $4,000 over a 3-month span. So you do get 15,000 more points or miles on the Venture X side, but you know, that could be inflated, and I'll let you guys know why. And I'm gonna put the annual fees down here in the corners of the screen so you guys can see how we start to run down and get a new effective annual fee for each of these cards to see which one is going to be the cheapest one to maintain and to hold on to. But in terms of the spend categories for each one of these cards, they are very similar in terms of the travel perspective because they are travel first cards. So on the Capital One Venture X side, you're gonna get 10x miles on hotels and rental cars booked directly through the Capital One portal. You're also going to get 5x miles on flights booked through that same Capital One portal, and then finally you get 2x back on all other purchases. So again, people look at this card as a catch-all card and something that they could use as kind of a fail-safe if they don't have a card that's earning more than that 2x on any other category. So if you have some sort of miscellaneous expense, maybe a Costco expense or something at a retail store, you know, and you can rest assured that you're going to get a minimum of 2x back. Versus on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the spending categories are a little bit more specific. So you get 5x backs on flights booked through Chase Travel. You also get 10x back on hotels and rent-a-cars through the Chase Sapphire portal after the first $300 of spend, which we'll touch on in a little bit. You get 10x back for every dollar spent on Lyft rides through the end of March of 2025, which I actually tend to use a good amount and more so than I thought I would. 3x back on all travel periods, so that means anything booked directly with an airline, any subway transportation, Lyft, Uber, buses, public transport, anything that codes as travel, you're gonna get 3x back, and you also get 3x back on dining. And then finally you get 1x back on everything else. So again, it's kind of like a pick and choose moment here. You get 3x back on dining, which is awesome, and then 3x back on transportation, which is something that I use often, especially here in the New York area. And then you get 1x back on all the other miscellaneous expenses versus that middle ground of the Capital One Venture X, whereas you know for a fact you're gonna get 2x back on all those same categories like dining and transportation, but then instead of 1x back, you actually get 2x back as well on anything else whatsoever. So you're always gonna get 2x back, and that's what makes this Venture X so appealing. So now let's get into the main perk of each of these because on the surface they are very similar. So on both the Capital One and the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, you're gonna get a $300 travel credit, but now they're a little bit different in how they work. On the Capital One side, it's basically a gift certificate that you can use directly through the Capital One portal, and that is the only way that you can use it. You cannot use it outside the Capital One portal, but anything that you can book in Capital One, you'll be able to use those $300 for. So you do have an entire year to use it, and you can use it as many times as you can until you meet that $300. And one thing to note is that it does not roll over to the next year, so if you don't use it in 1 year, you do lose it. And with the $300 that you get from the Chase side, which is my favorite probably perk that you can get with any credit card, is that those $300 can be used for any type of transportation and it gets used automatically. So for instance, I recently got my $300 renewed because I just completed my first year with the Reserve card. And with that $300, you can start to see in my statements that it's basically reimbursing me for even something like a subway travel. So every $2.75 that I use in the subway through New York City, it's gonna reimburse me until it hits that $300. So those $300 can be used outside of the travel portal. It can be used to book anything from airline tickets to hotels to smaller transportation like subways and buses and Lyft rides and Ubers and taxis. So that also will be used on a yearly basis, and same thing applies. If you don't use it in 1 year, you're gonna lose it. And there's an abundance of other benefits that you get with each one of these cards. I'm gonna run down quickly the Chase Sapphire Reserve ones. You do get Dash Pass through the end of 2027, which is something that we use at least once a month. You get $5 per month also to use towards Dash Pass. So if that's something that you can't take advantage of, by all means, definitely take advantage of it. But it's something that I wouldn't be paying for if I did not have this Chase Sapphire Reserve card. That's why I'm not hitting it towards my annual fee and making it an effective annual fee. So right now I still have a $250 effective annual fee because we subtracted $300, and then you also get a $120 credit for global entry, TSA PreCheck, or Nexus that you get every 4 years, which is something that I haven't taken advantage of either, but it is there for you to take advantage of if you can, making it a $30 a year value. And then on the other side with the Capital One Venture X, some additional perks that you get is a $100 experience credit and other premium benefits with every hotel and vacation rental booked through the Premier Collection with a minimum stay of at least 2 nights. So you do get $100 towards that. It's a very niche $100 to be able to be used, but you do get that perk. You also get that same $120 credit for global entry and TSA PreCheck, but the one perk that you do get over here that you don't get with the Chase Sapphire Reserve is that every year for holding this card, they're going to reward you with an additional 10,000 miles, meaning that equates to $100 towards that travel portal, which means your effective annual fee is now a positive $5. So in my opinion, it is the easiest way to get a positive annual fee out of the Capital One Venture X, because without doing anything, you get $300 towards a travel portal, and then you get an additional $100 or 10,000 miles towards a travel portal or to transfer out to partners just for holding onto this card, although you do not get that credit until the second year of owning this card because you do get the sign-up bonus in the first year. So you can start to see here that we do get a positive $5 annual fee with the Capital One Venture X, and we're still at a $250 effective annual fee with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And then finally, another perk to take into consideration is that both of these get Priority Pass Select memberships, which is the highest tier, which is about a $470 a year value. Again, your mileage may vary on if you're going to get $470 worth of value, depending on who you are and how many guests you bring, but just know that you do get Priority Pass Lounge memberships. And you also get Capital One Venture Lounge access, which I believe there's only 3 of them right now in the US, versus with the Chase Sapphire Lounges, there's many more. I believe now we're up to 8 of them here in the US or internationally, with more coming. So definitely take that into account. I've been to a couple of Sapphire Lounges. I've yet to go and visit a Capital One Lounge because they are far and in between. And then the last perk that I want to mention, so if you remember that sign-up bonus that I mentioned, that you get 60,000 points on the Chase Sapphire Reserve versus 75,000 miles on the Capital One Venture X, the way that they're kind of advertised to everybody, on the Capital One side, it says that it's $750 worth of value, and then on the Chase side, even though it's 60,000 points, they actually say it's $900 worth of value, and that's because the superpower of the Chase card is that when you book something through the Chase travel portal, you get an additional 50% boost in value of your points when you are booking through that Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, which I think is something that goes highly overlooked and is extremely underrated, and I use it all the time when it comes to domestic travel, because you can get some outsized value when you transfer out to these transfer partners, which we'll touch on in a second, especially when you're booking business class flights internationally or even just economy flights internationally. But when it comes to domestic travel, it's hard to get more than 1.5x value for your points, so being able to have that as a standard through the Chase Ultimate Reward portal is something that no other card has been able to match. On the other hand, the Capital One Venture X, the superpower that they have is that you can actually cover any sort of transportation costs or travel costs with your Capital One points at a 1 cent per mile exchange. So if you have something that you didn't book with points, but you want to offset that cost with your points, you can do that at 1 cent per mile through Capital One. So then to me, the ultimate factor in deciding whether or not this is going to be worth it for you has to be the fact that A, like I mentioned, you get that superpower of that 50% boost, which really helps out in the long run, like I mentioned. And then secondly, it's going to come down to transfer partners. Which transfer partners you could take advantage of the most, which ones you use the most, which one gives you the best outsized value over time. And in my opinion, Chase has the best ones purely because of the Hyatt membership program. They're the only issuer, aside from Bilt, that can transfer over to the Hyatt program, versus the Capital One, they don't have many hotel partners, or many good ones for that matter, right? For instance, on the Chase side, you get awesome partners like IHG, Marriott, and ultimately Hyatt, which is my favorite transfer partner, versus on the Capital One side, you don't get nearly as many hotel partners. For instance, you get Accor, which is something that I've never used before. You get Wyndham Hotels, which again is a hotel brand that I'm aware of, but I never use. And then finally, you also get Choice Hotels, which is in that same light as Wyndham. There's a hotel chains that I've never actually stayed at, but I am aware of them, versus with the Hyatt, Marriott, and IHG, they are hotels which you can really take advantage of with Chase Ultimate Reward points. So for me, as of right now, I'm going to always gravitate towards recommending people to the Chase ecosystem because you just get a little bit more value overall, even though the effective annual fee, you're still paying out of pocket a decent amount, versus with the Venture X, it's technically free to have because of the $300 that you get, plus the extra 10,000 miles that you get just for having this card. So that is an easier card to deal with. So depending on which situation you're in, if you just want to set it and forget it card where you know you're going to get value out of it and you travel at least once a year, the Capital One Venture X is going to be amazing for you, especially if you stick to the Capital One portal. And then on the Chase side, if you are somebody that likes to transfer out, you're a little bit more advanced, you know exactly what's going on, you can either take full advantage of that 50% boost through the Chase portal, or transfer out to those partners, which I continue to say, which is my favorite way to use Chase Ultimate Reward points. So I would say more of a beginner card, go to Capital One, a little bit more advanced, go with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but even then, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, with their easy-to-use $300 credit, also has that kind of beginner style to it. But let me know in the comment down below what you think. I'm a fan of both of these. I'm going to hold on to both of these, even though it's basically a $1,000 annual fee just to hold on to both of these cards. Even though it's about $950 annual fee just to have both of these cards, I take advantage of both of them. I use both of them, and I get value out of both of them. So let me know in the comment down below what you think. Which one would you apply to? Which one have you applied to? Which one do you own? Which one do you like the most? Always curious to know your thoughts. But if you made it to the end of this video, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, definitely check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here, everybody. Peace.